I do think that Adam Driver, okay, I'm not going to get into all that. No, I'm kidding, right? Ugh. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to be wrapping up my Star Wars books review and discussion of the Star Wars franchise and movies. So let's talk about Rise of Skywalker and why this was my least favorite movie in the trilogy, where it went wrong, why it went so wrong. Let's talk. So I'm going to go over the movie really quickly. The movie basically begins with Palpatine's return. This whole video is going to be spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. Begins with Palpatine's return, and he is got a new fleet of Death Star-like ships that can destroy planets. He tries to tell Kylo to join him and kill Rey so that Kylo can take over this empire and rule. So then the rest of the characters, Rey, Poe, and Finn, go on this journey of sorts, have to find all these little items and kind of like a scavenger hunt for our little buddies. Even though the movie has done nothing to set up a friendship, deep connection dynamic between these three people, we're supposed to be very invested in this. And that's where the movie goes so wrong. So let's talk about it. I would just like to say that I did not like this movie. I watched it again. I was really frustrated with it. I felt like it was trying to please everyone and therefore please no one. Many people have done videos on this, so if you want to watch those, there's some really great ones. I'm not going to get into deep dive here. I'm going to try not to. But CinemaSins did one. What's the other ones? Okay, Chris Stuckman did one, and the ones that I've seen. And then Honest Trailers, I think. Those are all the ones I've watched, and they were all good. But I'm not going to get into the whole deep dive of why this movie is terrible. I'm going to try to just give my basic thoughts. I did not like this movie. This movie has done nothing to show us the relationship between Finn and Poe and Rey and that they're close and they're friends, besides completely sidelining Rose, which was not okay. There's nothing here. This is a very shallow film with very, very heavy nostalgia. It is not subtle in any way. This is not paying homage, is that the right way to say that? To the other franchises. Like, it is in no way subtle at trying to tug on those heartstrings of, hey, remember when you loved this character or you loved this in this movie? Here it is again, bigger and better. No. So it, to me, didn't work on a lot of levels. I hated the return of Palpatine. I felt like it introduced most of the problems that I had with the movie because it necessitated certain things needed to happen because of Palpatine's return. Things like Hux being a traitor, which made no sense. Hux is a true believer. He would not have betrayed the First Order, but they had to set that up because they needed General Pride to take over because he was Palpatine's inside man. So Hux going out like a total chump, which I hated, was necessary because they had to have that for plot, what little plot there is. And that annoyed me. I also felt like the tension of the movie was lessened because watching it again, you know Kylo doesn't want to kill Rey. You know Rey doesn't want to kill Kylo. Those scenes that could be epic are not. This movie lacks any kind of tension because, as the other movies have shown us, except for killing off the original cast members from the original series, no one else is going to die. Finn's not going to die. Poe's not going to die. Rey's not going to die. They are just going to kill all the Skywalkers and be done with it. So, like I was saying, these movies have built up Rey as a godlike figure. She is, I'm not going to say Mary Sue. If you think that, that's fine. If you don't think it, that's fine too. I am just saying I was never in fear for Rey dying. Do I think it would have made a better ending? Kind of. But we'll talk about the ending. So there's no tension. The other thing that this movie relies on very heavily is that we are going to in some way believe that Rey is going to turn to the dark side. She has to in order to accept Palpatine's mantle because she's his granddaughter, spoiler, and she's going to be the leader of the Sith. Rey, the sweet, wonderful Rey who's been built up to this level of perfection that no one has ever reached before. Rey is not going to turn to the dark side. There is no reason for that. There's no reason to believe that Rey would turn. nothing in these movies have shown us that Rey has that temptation. She is not a flawed character. She's not a Kylo Ren. She doesn't struggle with the darkness. Rey is a very kind person. Rey does everything out of devotion and love for the cause, which she shouldn't even feel devotion to. She's a scavenger from Jakku. She doesn't need to be devoted to this. But as soon as she knows she can help, she does. Rey is a helper. She is not somebody who is in it for her own self. So, like how with Anakin, they tried to set up this descent into madness and all that, and it was not executed perfectly, but you saw it. Anakin was a flawed character. Kylo Ren is a very flawed character. Even Luke struggled, and you could see that he was really struggling. Rey has not struggled. There's nothing about Rey that would make you think that she's going to turn on her friends and suddenly become Empress Palpatine. So that part, I felt like, because they introduced the Emperor, was annoying. Also, because of the Emperor being back, there's just a lot of other things that are boring. The whole dynamic of, like I said, Rey and Poe going off, doing their scavenger hunt, meeting up with these characters we don't care about, left no time for character development we did care about. Introducing the character Zori, who has this conversation with Poe. If that would have been any other character, Finn and Poe, Rey and Poe, anybody, it would have made more sense. But they don't introduce anything that gives these characters this sense of family. Rey supposedly has this found family, and we don't see it. We don't get to experience that she really loves these people. Why would she? These are people she doesn't know, and we don't know. And that is where the movie lost me. I kind of hate this movie because the one person that we have seen have a full character arc is Kylo Ren, also Ben Solo. I will probably use those names interchangeably. I'm really sorry. But Kylo was the best character. And I kind of am frustrated at the movie for making it so. There's just no denying that he had a full character arc. He was the most explored. He had the most depth. He went from, angry emo kid, that's how I thought of him in the first movie, to a very controlled kind of, seducer of Rey at the end. He's very much interested in her ruling with him. And I would have loved that. Like, turn Rey to the dark side. Have some conflict. Have something real. And then have Kylo realize that's not what he wanted. He describes his father as his past and Rey as his light in the book. And I wanted to see it. I wanted to see how he would have felt if Rey would have turned. And it would have been awful and nothing like what he wanted. And he would have had to try and have her come back from that or something. Anything would have been better than what we got. So that's my thoughts on the movie. I didn't like it. Didn't like the ending. I feel like there was so much more they could have done. And I was overall left very disappointed. Now let's talk about the book. Where the book changes a few things is that you do get to see Leia and Rey training together. Leia has been training Rey. Leia is shown to be very, very strong with the Force. She's a master. She is Rey's teacher, and she is able to communicate with Luke this whole time. And that's really something that was very sweet. Something that would have been really nice to see in the film, too, is the communication between Leia and Luke. And that even though he's gone, they have this connection that can't be broken, and they're still communicating. And he wants her to join him. He's ready. He says, you have one last thing to do. And that's to convince Ben to turn, or Kylo to turn back to Ben, however you want to put it. And I liked it. It was nice. It was nice to see that they have always had that and that it didn't go away. And I liked that the book explored that more and explored the character of Leia more. And I realized because of Carrie Fisher's death, they couldn't really do that in the movie, but it hurt the movie. And that was unfortunate. The other things that they show more of are going to be Rey's temptation. Even the book is very light about it. They're not going to be heavy-handed in showing like Rey's really tempted, but Rey does use the Force for her own benefit. She manipulates at one time Finn by using the Force on him to get him to do what she wants, and it would have been great to see that. It would have been great to see that in the movie. It would have helped so much to see Rey doing things with the Force like, hey, I'm going to manipulate this person because this is what I want, and she should have done that. It would have made you think maybe she can be Dark Rey. And we should have seen her sitting on the throne next to Kylo. Like, I want that. Show it to us. Don't tell us, hey, I saw myself on the throne next to Kylo, blah, blah, blah. I don't even care if she was sitting in his lap. I might have preferred that. But show it. It would have been better. Show us how Rey is actually maybe going to turn. Because it was so unconvincing that the whole plot hinged on her possibly turning. And that was annoying. Hang on, I have notes. A couple more things that were in the book that were not in the movie that would have been really great was additional scenes from Kylo's perspective, showing his feelings towards Rey, showing his regret that she didn't join him, and how he wants to be with her. He knows they're a dyad in the Force. How he knows what a dyad is, all that is pretty left unexplained. Like, it's pretty much left untouched. We don't know why Kylo knows they're a dyad and Rey doesn't know that they're a dyad, but he knows and he wants to be with her and he wants to rule together. He feels like once they're together, they're going to be unstoppable. And his, feelings about her are a little bit more explored. I'm a Reylo fan and it's not super deep. But also, I do feel like Kylo doesn't really love Rey. Not in the way of like romantic love. And I like Reylo. I'm all about it. But I do feel like he's pretty much incapable of loving her. He just feels that she is the person who can complete him. Like, he knows he's not all that he could be, if that's the right way of saying it. He feels an emptiness where he knows that if they were together as one, as a true dyad, that they could accomplish whatever they wanted. And I do think that Adam Driver, okay, I'm not going to get into all that. No, I'm cutting it right here. So I do think that they should have shown more scenes of Kylo, his past. There's a scene in the book where he interrogates Chewie and it hurts him. He actually is sick to his stomach because he gets into Chewie's mind to get the information they need, and it hurts him to do it. And you're kind of seeing that softening to him, whereas it would have been great to see Kylo softening towards the light. It would have been great to see Rey going towards the darkness. But of course, the movie doesn't do that, and the book doesn't hardly go there either. And there's even a scene where Lando finds a hologram of a picture of Chewie and Ben, and when Ben was a baby, and it's just something that would have been good to see. You see Lando mourning his friends too, and talking, he's going through all the memories of the past and what it was like to be these people in the Resistance, these heroes, and how amazing it was, and all the things that he suffered from it, but also all the things that he gained from it, and these friendships that were deeper than anything that these new movies have had to offer. So I kind of wish they would have shown more of that. It just, the things that this movie devoted its runtime to were not good. And just, ugh. The other thing that is going to happen in the book is there is more explanation of how Palpatine came back. Rey actually sees his death, how he was able to transfer his life force, and that's good. It's better to have it explained, although it does feel like kind of a slap in the face because the movie did not even bother to give you that explanation, so you have to read the extra material to even know that he had been planning for this. He had a clone body he could go into. He was cloning himself to create these vessels. Rey's father was actually a clone. Yeah. So why do that? I mean, I don't get it. But I will say that it just, there's a little bit more explained, and that does help. And you also know that the Emperor has always been the Sith have always been trying to create what Rey and Ben have as a dyad in the Force. That's why there's the rule of two, master and apprentice. They're trying to create that dyad, and it's never worked before. So how the Emperor at the end can pull the life force out of Ben and Rey, I don't know. That's not explained in either the book or the movie, and it was annoying. So I would recommend that you read the book if you want to just have that little bit more to the experience. It does explain a little bit more. It does give you a little bit more detail and a little bit more depth. This movie is not a very deep movie. It's pretty shallow. The book is a little bit deeper, but still, I really don't like this. I really wanted it to end differently. I felt like if there could have been so many different ways for this to go, if Ben would have lived and Rey would have died, then he would have had to go back, to the Resistance with her body and be like, I'm so sorry, I tried to save her. And that would have been a better dynamic. If they would have both lived and Rey and Kylo would have both realized that she couldn't go back with him because he was evil and the Resistance wouldn't accept him and he really couldn't go back. There are consequences to war. There are consequences to choosing the wrong side in a war. And I think Rey should have had to justify choosing Kylo, that they were always connected, that she always felt more for him than she did for anybody, because that's one of the few things we see, is that she had a depth of a relationship with him that wasn't present with really anybody else in the series. So there's a scene at the end of Lord of the Rings when, I can't help it, when Frodo's talking about how the Shire was saved but not for him. And he's seen too much. He's lived through too much. He can't go live his days in peace. And if Kylo and Rey would have done that, if they would have left and become, wanderers together, I would have liked that. It's the truth of it. It's a bittersweet ending, but it's at least they had each other. Instead, we get Kylo and Ben Solo's death, which was awful, and I just thought it was so terrible. The end battle is a Palpatine versus a Palpatine, and it just didn't matter to me. And I really hate that it felt like Disney had decided ahead of time, like, Rey's gonna fight at the end. We need a strong woman character, and at the end, Rey's gonna be all by herself in the desert, back in Tatooine, and she's gonna say, "I'm Rey Skywalker." This felt like a foregone conclusion because Disney is predictable. They have very set parameters, and I feel like strong woman character was going to be strong woman character, and they didn't want to change it. And that's annoying. It hurt the story. It hurt it a lot. They totally sidelined Rose, which I feel like was a total disservice to that character. I get that J.J. Abrams was trying to retcon everything that Rian Johnson did, but it wasn't fair. They should have had Rose more in the movie. They also didn't need to introduce the totally unnecessary character of Janna. Janna and, what's her name? Zori. Okay, yeah. So Zori and Janna did not need to be introduced in this movie either. They were pretty unnecessary. I just feel like it was a very bad execution on every level. I didn't feel any tension between Rey and Kylo in the fight scenes. I never felt any fear of them dying. I never felt any fear of Rey turning. All these things that this movie sets up that should have been really amazing, and it's just a ripoff of Return of the Jedi, and that is not okay. And I get that people hated The Last Jedi, and I understand why, but it happened, and J.J. Abrams didn't help himself by just trying to undo all of that. It was bad. And actually, looking back at The Last Jedi now, I like it so much more than Rise of Skywalker. There are scenes in that movie that are great. The throne room scene, the fight scene there, it felt so much more real, so much more exciting. And I will watch that movie again, whereas I have no desire to watch Rise of Skywalker again. It is not good, in my opinion, and was a huge letdown to me as a even moderate Star Wars fan. So I'm sorry for rambling. Please talk to me in the comments. Tell me how you feel about this movie, if you loved it, if you hated it, how you would have preferred the end to go, what you would have liked to see. And yeah, thank you everybody who's watched this whole video. Please like and subscribe, and definitely drop me a comment and tell me what you think.